What's going on, family? Once again, it's on Community Conversations with your man, your main man, Joe Dupree, and my brother from another mother, representing the big city of dreams, because everything in New York ain't always what it seems. Brother Fatiyn, WBLS in New York. I'm representing 100BLK, the Black Station, as you see, www.the100blk.com. And we're in the building uh, after I don't know, it seemed like such a long weekend.
Mm. I wonder why. Because we had a long weekend last week. You saw it a long last weekend we did because it was King
Right,
Day.
correct.
But
And
this week it's just been regular. I wish it was
so,
felt like a long weekend, brother.
so it's been regular for you. Okay.
Oh man, you know I had another death on my trio crew of the open line original team.
Correct.
So Mtume passed 2 weeks ago, brother James Mtume, and then Judge Bob Pickett, who was part of the team of bobsleigh, James Mtume, and Judge Pickett, he passed 9 days after Mtume. So I had two tribute shows to do back to back. So again, our prayers and condolences goes out to both families, after they mourn the loss of their loved one. So I just want to say that, Joe. But Joe, I want to say this real quick.
Talk to me.
One of the things that I'll say, and we can't get into it tonight. We have a topic, but I was going to say something to you when you came on, and that I would love to hear you back on commercial radio. But the thing is, you're an entrepreneur and you have your own, the 100black.com. And that's so important as an entrepreneur. You're your own boss. The only reason why I said about commercial radio under your terms, is that, listenership has gone back up since the pandemic. And I think you have so much to say, but you're not a guy that's going to scratch where it doesn't itch, and you're not going to be a puppet and let somebody be a puppeteer. So, at the end of the day, you can be an asset to someone, and someone needs to understand and know that. But at the end of the day, they got to realize they get what they get, and you're a professional. You're not going to get up there and show your backside, but you're going to say what needs to be said. And that's so important. And I'll say it for you, brother. And I just think that you bring so much to the table, and it's a damn shame that you're not on commercial radio today.
Man, I really appreciate that love. I turn everything over to the higher power.
I
I believe
understand.
everything has a season, a reason, and a flow to everything. So just like what we're talking about tonight, you know, um, many a times, we don't understand everything, but we try to give you the information you need so you can make the best decision with the information you have for yourself, your family, and those around you. And I think many a times that's the biggest mistake, that we don't have individuals who have our best interests at heart, and
Correct.
we don't have the vehicles to get the information to our people that they really need to hear, where they'll have all the information, where they can say, well, this is really what happened, and this is really, where I need to stand on this situation. And that's why tonight I've invited some very um, highly educated, good friends of mine who are going to come on. People I have a great deal of respect for. I'm right now just sharing this with a few folks, because I had some folks say you need to share it with us. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Share this with a friend, because we want to get information out to our people from our perspective, where you can hear it the way we need to tell it. Many a times, what you hear, and a friend of mine, and I want to say this, I'm going to turn the mic back over to you, Fatiyn. A friend of mine today blew my mind, because he actually did the research in the top 200 markets in the United States of America. And he said something that blew my mind. He said 90% of Black radio, and in the top 200 markets in the nation, may have a Black air personality, may have a Black program director, but they answer to a Caucasian station manager or general manager.
That's
Uh,
true. That's true.
It's just wow.
That's true. I mean, it's a sad reality that WBLS was owned by inner city the Suttons, and due to circumstances, this is before I came over to WBLS,
Right.
and I was at 98.7 Kiss FM, which was white owned.
Wow.
The thing is that they didn't bother us to say what we said. A lot of black owned stations wouldn't allow Minister Farrakhan to come on the show. He
Wow.
came on our show, came in studio, and we did what we had to do. But the BLS is not black owned anymore, and us at KISS rooted for BLS, even though they were our competitor. We rooted
Right.
for them, and I also worked for Reach Media and Radio One under Alfred Liggins and his mom's
Miss
Mrs.
Hughes.
Kathy, Mrs.
Right.
Hughes, Mrs. Kathy Hughes, which I spoke with 2 weeks ago when them two may pass. But you're right. There's a lot of people that are programming our stations. You may have the black face out there, but they're programming our stations. And when I
Right.
say the music, this, that, and other, and a lot of times they don't look like us at
Right.
the end of the day. And I must say this, they're all white-owned stations that are black formatted radio that have good black folks that work there at
Correct.
the end of the day, and they do a good job, and I'm not going to sit in there and take away
Oh,
from that,
no, no, and that's not what we're doing.
you
We're just
know.
saying we're not in charge of the narrative.
Yeah, that's
We're just
right.
the
And
face and the voice and the mouthpiece,
that's
and,
right.
and
And that's
sometimes
dangerous.
right, and
Very
sometimes we're
dangerous.
not able to give the whole story the way it needs to be given because of things working in the background that has absolutely I'm not even gonna go there.
Yeah,
I just
but
don't.
I'll tell you this: there is some. I'll tell you this, and we'll share this another time. But like I've said, I've seen folks that are black owned. That I'm not talking about my station that I work for with Radio One and Reach Media, but I've
Right,
seen some black owned stations that are so scared of the content that they would talk about that they critique their talent, and because of their
right,
fear of the advertisers. See, we brought on the late Minister Khalid Muhammad when he went to Jasper, Texas.
right,
And that was when James Byrd was dragged and killed because
correct,
of racism. And when we brought him on, he talked about why he went down there as a member of the new Black Panther Party and why they went down there with loaded guns. Well, we had a white guy named Budline that went after our advertisers, wrote a op-ed in the New York Post in New York.
wow,
But management stood with us at the end of the day, and we didn't have to flinch. I mean, we had to come on and we dealt with it, and we invited him on, and whipped him a
mm,
new backside. You understand? Because he was going for a jug. He was going for
right,
our
right,
juggler.
right,
He was
right.
going for our money.
So we're gonna bring you in, and let's get into the
Yes, sir.
subject of this evening, kind of on that line.
Mm-hmm.
Right now on the local level, on the state level,
Mm-hmm.
and on the national level, there are a lot of legislation out that is attacking black and brown folk. It's rolling back what we have accomplished. Everything from affirmative action to voting rights, and the list goes on and on and on. You and I had a conversation because I know another thing that you do with excellence. You work for Reverend Al Sharpton, and you produce this show, and I heard the conversation. My question is: are we waiting on the next rebirth of Malcolm Martin, the next Shirley Chisholm, the next? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Are we waiting for somebody to galvanize us to change the narrative? So let me switch a view here and start bringing some folks in. First person I want to bring in is a good friend of mine who is a great entrepreneur, a great man in media. He and I have worked some years. My brother, my good friend Ty Sterling from Alpha Media. He does a lot of work with political marketing, public relations. Ty does a great deal. So, the question that I had also brought this up to Todd one time, what are we waiting on to start galvanizing and saying voting rights, everything from voting rights to affirmative action? You can't roll back what we have established to even out the playing field because all you're doing is setting us back. Brother Todd, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm enjoying y'all's conversation. And I was holding my hand up off backstage because I wanted to jump in on the radio piece.
Yeah,
I
come
worked
on.
in radio for 16 years, from sales to 5 years as a general manager. And one of the most tragic things I think urban radio went through was the fact that African Americans sold their radio stations and realized the financial dream to be financially independent, to be financially secure for their families. But what we lost as the community was our authentic voice. And so, now you've got these white boys who are the program directors of urban stations, and they control the narrative of what our kids listen to and what we listen to. And y'all can't say it because y'all work well. You can, Joe, but Fatiyn, you work for somebody.
But
But
I say it, baby.
look, the truth is, you know, when you look at rap and hip hop, it used to be a party music, some conscious music, some message music, some music that really, really got us going and made us think, made us elevate. Now all it is Percocets and Molly and hoes and bitches, and it's like, what happened? What had happened? And you ask yourself, isn't the people who are choosing the music for us? And that's what it is, because it's a movement to keep us dumb. Because when you had an African American program director, some of this stuff wouldn't have hit the radio. It's just meant for the club. It's meant for the
Right.
streets. It's not meant for 7, 8 times, 10 times a day on our babies. I tell my son, who's now 25, but when I bought him a Jeep, he was 16. I used to tell Todd, I said, say, bro, I get in this car, I ride with him after about 3 rap songs, and it's that ignorant rap. I told him, I said, look, bro, dumb in, dumb out.
Right.
Dumb in, dumb out. I said, you can't listen to this stuff all the time and not become dumb and your thought process swayed by what they're saying. And, he was like, Dad, I know, I know. And, I took them to school every morning of their life until he started driving. They got some heavy, heavy Earth, Wind and Fire, Bob Marley, Sade. They got a whole lot of R&B. They got a whole lot of jazz and ballads and some pop and some classics. But the reality is that these folks, are programming these stations, and the music that they're letting be the music that's popular music is just ignorant. And I don't mean to disparage the kids that are making this ignorant music, but they really ought to check themselves. And I think that you could elevate your writing, you could elevate and think about what you're putting out in the sphere, because this whole music thing is one of the few things that African Americans import to the world, because this is how the world sees us. And so for me, I think that there needs to be some conversation on all levels of the entertainment spectrum on what the heck we letting be released to the world.
Could I
So
just could I just jump in here real quick? And I know we have another guest coming on, but I just wanted to say, Todd, you hit a home run out the park. So I'm gonna just come up and just hit my little solo bass hit, man. But it and you're 200% correct dealing with the radio and what they, in the sense of what you put in is what you get out. But it goes even further back in the sense of the breakdown of Black music, just Black music. First of all, one of the things that we talked about was the destruction of Black music departments, Black bands. We got away from making hit careers into hit songs. We got rid of those kind of artists at the end of the day. We also started to looking at the dumbing down of the Black community. And when you start to see the breakdown of Black businesses and people standing up, you got to realize rap in the 80s, in the 80s, and I was part of that. When they took the gold chains off and put the medallions and put the peace signs and the right on, and the Africans around there, we're in college around here, self-destruction, coming together, going to Chicago, sitting down with the Minister Farrakhan and understanding their power and moving forward. But understand the system behind it, the puppeteer. And see, that's what we have to understand. What is the breakdown? And look where we're at in society. Look at the crime. Look at where we at as a society in the 60s and the 70s. And I don't want to live in the past. But what I'm saying is, when you have everything pushing excellence from television, Black actors, when you're looking at excellence being pushed, That is something that is important. But when you started to see the breakdown in the music, breakdown in the family, just the total breakdown of the family structure, and what do you get out of it?
Yeah.
So that you hit it right on the head. But people have to understand that this was a process that went in play, and it's a process that is taking place now.
Yeah, man, it's tragic. But you know, Fatiyn, I think that one of the things that I keep taking my glasses off because I keep getting a glare, guys. So don't think I'm crazy, but I can't read nothing without them.
Mhm.
Anyway, you know, one of the things that you know, my hope is that you know, kids like Kendrick, Lamar, some of these other talented kids like Kid Cudi and the kid who does Atlanta. What's his name? Some of these guys, they really write and create some stuff that swings the narrative back
Yeah.
to education, consciousness, and lifting us up. Because the way we going, it is just pure ignorance, and that ain't happening in my house. You know, so for me, I really want to see it go back to really message music, music that you can gain something from, as opposed to just listening to it for the beat.
Yeah, and that's real talk. So let me bring in our next guest, Sister Margie Broussard, from the NAACP District D Vice President. Sister Margie's going to have to unmute her mic, but and that's something that Sister Margie and I had talked about. Um, and it was some real deep conversation about how we need to wake up as a people, because the question I had presented was, who are the new leaders? Is it the Stacey Abrams? Is it the Killer Mikes? Who can galvanize us to realize that there is a lot going on in legislation that is really setting us back right now as we speak? Sister Broussard, how you doing, my friend?
Hi, and thank you for having me on this show, Joe. Good intense conversation going there, guys.
We try to keep it real.
I'm
I
glad
mean,
to be a
and
part of
go
it.
ahead and give us your 2 cents on the matter.
Well, I know you asked the question, are we waiting for a Malcolm? Are we waiting for another Shirley Chisholm and whoever else? Um, I don't know that I'm not confident that the masses of our people are even remotely aware.
Mm,
When I talk to people about the Voting Rights Act didn't pass, they're like, "What? What's that?
Right.
What are you talking about?" So, and when you talk about Black media, I worked with Janelle Shagwar with KJCB for several years, where she had a show that, where it was just Black information. We don't have those venues anymore, and as one of the gentlemen said earlier, you know, there's Black employees at the radio station, DJs, personalities, and whatnot, but dictated, they're told what information to give us.
right.
Right.
And that is so unfair to us. And that's why we really need to get on the ball to have some type of outlet where we can give people facts. And unfortunately, we all know that um, Black folks don't always support Black folks. So I wonder how a Black owned and operated radio station would do. How well would that do as the place to get accurate information?
Sister Margie, you said a mouthful. And I wrote a few things down, and I'm going to revisit those, and we're all going to speak about that. Number one is that we don't support one another. You know, my good friend Ty Sterling, Alpha Media, Black owned public relations. We have to fight just as twice as hard as some folk to just get at an even playing field. And then you see what's going on with some of these elected bodies where they're using the law or the lack of the law or new legislation really to set us back. And we're not saying or doing anything. That's what gets me. Even those that we have in power. I give you a prime example, and I'm going to call out some names here in Louisiana. We got people like Clay Higgins. Now, I just came from an MLK celebration where our attorney general was there, Jeff Landry, and come to find out he graduated from Southern Law School. The shirt I have on, a proud HBCU.
Right.
The
And
mayor also,
right,
who
right,
is
and right,
who is literally destroying North Lafayette with every, he's literally just destroying North Lafayette. And I want you to know, I was not on the committee that allowed either one of them to even be in the building. Okay, it is not how. I don't know how they got there. And we as leaders need to call those things out.
Mhm.
You got to call them out.
You
You
got
got to call
to.
them out.
Yeah.
You know,
Let
you
me
know
just
what?
go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Teen. I'm sorry.
All right, just real quick. So let's rewind this tape a little bit. So if you go back into Jim Crow or civil rights era with Dr. King, Malcolm X, just put those two figures up there. One north, one south, right? And you know that all black people did not follow Malcolm X, and all black people did not follow Dr. King, and all black people were not part of the civil rights movement. It was,
correct.
it didn't work like that. The difference, and Marja said something that was just important. She said that she mentioned about the voting rights bill didn't pass, and she talked to some people that just to seem ignorant of the situation, lack of knowledge of, and whatever their lack of concern is, I don't know, but she mentioned that. But at least during Jim Crow and the civil rights movement, the common denominator of black folks were interested in getting better, getting ahead, fighting against racism. So they knew and understand the narrative. They understood the narrative. Now you fast forward today, you have more people of color, black people that make more money, who are in powerful positions. You understand what I'm saying? And but as a collective, and not to say everybody, but it just seems like we are further behind because you know why? Because the strategies that the folks are using against us, that we fought against, they are rolling back things that we fought for and got and gained. How do you cancel? How does the governor could put a bill in Florida that you cannot talk about black history if it makes white people feel uncomfortable? Well, damn it, y'all killed us.
Right.
Y'all killed us.
Right.
You understand? Y'all continue to shoot us in the back, and you talking about worrying about telling the truth that makes you feel uncomfortable. That's why I challenge black folks today. And at the stage, you don't have to follow Sharpton. You don't have to follow this or that, but have some self-awareness and self-respect and self-consciousness about yourself to see what's going on around you, to see that if a couple of more steps, your ass may be back in the plantation field picking cotton.
Fatiyn,
Wow.
let me jump in.
Come on, Todd.
So everything you said, Fatiyn, is so relative. And let me bring it to you in the current and the now. The Voting Rights Act was passed in 65. I was born in 66. I'm 55. So it's not ancient history.
Nope.
So Jim Crow ain't no old ass forever away gone thing from our history. Our grandparents, our parents, Marja probably lived some Jim Crow. And so at the end of the day, I think we in this 45, 50 plus crowd, we got to really, really get these young kids to understand that the stuff we talking about with the Voting Rights Act, this ain't ancient history. We just started voting in this country 55 years ago. And so why is it important? Because 55 years ago, we didn't have a voice. And you know what else really pisses me off, Fatiyn? The fact that you would filibuster and play with my Voting Rights Act, but you're going to try to get my money for taxes. So I can't vote. If you want my money for taxes, come on, America. You're better than that. And so, what has to happen is we have to bring that to the forefront, and we got to get our congressmen, we got to get the people who have these relationships with some of these Republicans to say, hey, man, you playing us real, real stupid. You need to come up off of that and realize that, if we're going to all be in this America, we're going to need to have some equality. Y'all done had this piece for 400, 500 years. But we too far educated, too far down the line for you to think that we're going to be okay with no voting rights. But yet we got to pay taxes. And what we found out because of Donald Trump, we paying the most in taxes. They're not even paying taxes.
And we're about to go to war. And we're
Right.
about to go to war. And if we go to war, guess who's going over there to support this
Right.
country?
Right.
And then come back here and can't properly vote.
Right.
And I think another thing important, guys, is that we have to raise leaders that we can financially support, that they are not they're not dependent on the income of their quote unquote white counterparts or whatnot, where they cannot be afraid to say what needs to be said. Because a lot of elected officials, once they get in their position, they have to tiptoe,
Mhm.
they have to make sure that they stay in office, that there's not a recall against them because of something that they say. But if we have people who are not dependent on those things, like I know several people that I work with, I'm fortunate that, we have the liberty to speak out against the injustices that happen in our community every single day, if that's what it takes, because we are financially independent. We're not dependent on others to pay our bills or come shop at our stores and things of that nature. So I think it's important that we raise leaders who have that freedom. Because if we have leaders that cannot speak up for us, if we have legislators that can't say, it blew me away that the act didn't pass. It blew me away that it's still happening. It just like, and I was irate about it, and people just simply didn't know.
And the act did, and you know what? The Voting Rights Act did pass. It did pass from the perspective of all the Democrats voting for it. The problem is the damn that slavery filibuster. And when you got the Democrats, when you got these conservative Democrats that act like Republicans, Senator Sinema and Senator Manchin,
right,
at the end of the day, that don't want to remove the filibuster, but they would remove the filibuster to get a conservative court. See, if the show was on the other foot and the Republicans had to vote to null and void the Voting Rights Act, to do whatever they choose to do, they wouldn't have blinked an eye. I just don't understand why Democrats feel like we always have to be the conscious measure in politics. And I give the House credit. The House showed some guts. After they took over the House this time, they learned their lesson of soft shoeing in there, and really passed a lot of legislation that will help not only Americans, but help Black and brown folks here in America.
And Fatiyn and Tide and Miss Marja, ultimately, the thing that I resoundingly hear in the back of my head as we all talking is a lack of unity in our community, period. That's the problem. One of the problem is if we could unite, even to not agree, but to agree on we need to be moving in the same direction, I believe there's a great deal we could accomplish. But the problem is we have so much division in our own communities. The sad thing about it is it doesn't faze me sometimes when someone who doesn't look like me does not agree with me or does not want to see me succeed. But then when I see people who look just like me, who are actually out there advocating more my demise than folks who don't look like me, I say, what the hell going on?
You know what I'm most impressed by? White folks have, I'm going to try to be a lady, Grand.
Sister Marja,
do your thing, girl.
White folks have pissed on us for years. And when we're dealing with our own, all of a sudden, our standards are so much higher. We don't support Black businesses because we don't like the way they look, talk, open late, and all kinds of stuff. We don't do this for Black people or for, support, Black businesses and whatnot. All of a sudden, when it comes to us, doing business with us, our standards are much higher. Whitey spit piss on us for over 400 years, and they're still doing it today. And we'll go back to that business. We will walk across the street. We will park at a black man's business and go buy something at an Asian restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm sorry, y'all. I just get so
Now,
really.
Sister Mark, let me just say this real quick, and I'm not going to be long on this one. Tamika Mallory, if the folks know Tamika Mallory, I know her personally, but Tamika Mallory is front and center with the Breonna Taylor situation and a lot of other issues. When she went to Savior's Day to see the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and she was part of that the women march piece, the Jews came after her and conservative folks came after her. I'm not here to attack the Jews. I'm making a point. If you just saw what came out on Donald Trump today about how that his cronies, he got his cronies to forge election slips going back in that they had to submit, saying that he won and he didn't win. Why don't we send a message to people that supported Trump that look like us? Why don't we support? Why don't we stop spending our money for Lil Wayne? I'll call the names: Lil Wayne, Kanye West. Why do we continue to not in the same narrative? You see what they did to Colin Kaepernick? When
Bro.
they come out and they go against us as a whole, we need to make an example of them financially, because that's what will break their back. You can call them all the names you want. If they get in that money, it doesn't matter.
Right,
Bro, you
exactly.
just spoke a mouthful, and
Come on, Ty.
for me, that is the part that is really, really hurtful. The fact that our grandfathers, our great great grands, even some of our fathers and mothers, they really, really laid it on the line for us to have these freedoms. They really put their lives at risk. They really, really, took real abuse. They couldn't walk on a sidewalk. They couldn't do this. They couldn't do that. And these children and some of these adults, they act like that's ancient history. That's way back. You know what? We have really, really got to re-educate our kids, and we have got to elevate our kids so that they know their contribution to society from as far back as Egypt, when that's black folks. When we talk about Kemet and you talk about the
Right.
universities, there were 7 universities while people were still living in caves. The reality is they think that that's just so they're not interested in it. But you should be interested in it, because that's where math comes from. That's where science comes from. That's where engineering comes from. You
Architecture.
realize these people built
Yes.
bridges with no machines. They built pyramids. They built all this stuff. They smelted gold and copper without machines. And you ask yourself, why don't you respect that blackness? And so for me, I'm at a place where, I think I raised my kids in the Catholic education system. And my kids used to say, Dad, you're kind of prejudiced. Dad, you really, really, really be going hard on white folks. I said, no. I said, I'm telling y'all what is real in society. And I have a lot of great white relationships. I've worked in advertising. I went to Catholic school myself. I make a lot of money from my relationships with white folks. But the reality is, I don't think you got to sell out yourself or be somebody that you're not to do business with and to get what you need to get out of life with them. Because at the end of the day, I think they respect you. And let me tell y'all something, and all y'all people in listening land, race relations is a one-on-one thing. You know what? Race relations is not some mass effort. It's you and how you carry yourself, how you talk, and how you represent us and yourself when you're dealing with another white person. And so the reality is, when you're out here dealing and talking and stuff, represent yourself, speak the King's English, respect yourself and respect other people. And I think you're going to get some respect back. So, for me, where we are politically, I think we got to take what is ours, because if not, they're going to crush us, because the oppressor is never going to give anything away that it doesn't have to give. So in Louisiana, while we all gerrymandered and we don't have any black districts other than this crazy gerrymandered district from New Orleans to Baton Rouge, we need another black district. And so we
Yeah.
need to sue and we need to say that Louisiana is 35% black, almost 40% black, and we need another district. Why do we need another district? Because we pay taxes.
Right.
Exactly.
We
Right.
are
And I,
Americans, and we are Americans. Mitch
right,
McConnell, we are Americans. And so,
right,
the reality is we got to be proud Americans. We got to make him respect the fact that we built this for free. Mitch.
right, right, right,
So for me, it's like that's where the energy comes from. And you got to really, really go at them like that, because if you don't, they don't care and they will continue to smush you. So at the end of the day, where I come from, Mitch and whoever thinks like Mitch, and you know what else pisses me off? The fact that they hadn't put Donald Trump in jail. He did crimes against humanity for not telling the American public about the COVID virus. I believe he sat on it for 6 months. And you
right.
know what? When
Mm.
he finally talked about it in March of 2000, people were dying.
Yes.
Buku people died in Louisiana, Fatiyn. I'm talking
That's
about
right.
20 plus Zulu Club members. I'm talking about my great aunt and uncle who were 82 and 83 years old. I'm talking about Buku people because this dude was evil and didn't tell the American public to protect itself. You
Right.
know what? That's a crime against humanity, and they need to go at him for that. I don't know what the hell Joe Biden doing. I don't know what the hell that whole administration doing if they're not going after this dude for crimes against humanity, as well as the other crimes that he's committed. And so for me, you know what? I got issue with all of this. And anybody who is down with Trump, I got issue with you because that means you're criminal too.
Right.
Mm.
I want to say
Sister
that
Margie.
I was just, I mean, he doesn't leave a whole lot to be said because he's really said a mouthful in everything that he said. I have some great relationships with some of my white counterparts as well. But until we black folks value black folks, we're going to continue to be in this what do you call it, the hamster rolling around in. You know,
Mhm.
we have to value, we have to stop marginalizing, we have to respect one another. Because if I could respect you, we could move mountains together. I don't have to like you. I
Mm.
don't have to talk to you every day. I don't have to go to the same church. I don't have to do it in the same profession. But if I can respect you, I can work with you. And we could really move mountains in this city, in this state, in this nation. The biggest thing is that I think personally, Margie Broussard, is that this crab in the barrel mentality that I've heard about since I was a child. My dad used to talk to us about crab in the barrel, and when there's somebody that's crabbing in the barrel that's pulling you back down, you need to run far away from them as you possibly can, because
Really.
not only will they hurt you, but they will hurt everything and everyone around you. So we just need to get to a place where we not just respect each other, but we trust each other. You have to trust that Margie Broussard is not going to do anything to screw you, to put you down, to cause you to lose your job, and anything negative that comes with that. And I believe that's a inner community problem. That's our problem, and we have to get over it. Otherwise, we will continue to be where we are, still fighting for our rights to vote. He mentioned the Jim Crow era. Um,
55 years later, we still fighting for our right
right,
to vote. That's
Yeah, that don't make no damn sense. And but you got to understand. See, this is for us that understand that we are. I'm 59, so I understand. What we're saying. The problem is that you got to realize that there was a plan put in place, just like COINTELPRO Pro was put in place. There was other initiatives that put in place to break down the Black family and the Black community.
Bruh.
And because of that, now that doesn't mean that we don't have sparkles here and there. We do. We have young people that got in that during COVID, after George Floyd was killed on national television, you saw young folks, old folks, all folks come together as a national movement to call for justice for George Floyd. I just use that as an example. So you do have the sprinkles there, and you get the sparks there with our people, but it's so fractured. It's so fractured that it's hard to get through, because when you talk about your great auntie and your grandmother and your nana was a certain age, a certain wisdom there because of her experience. Nana now can be 38 or 42.
Yes.
And Nana is listening to the same music that the 18-year-old is getting down on with and shaking her backside and showing her so-and-so. So what I'm saying is, so I'm saying is our priorities are wrong, but we are so fractured that Dr. King talked about it, that some of these people we're going to have to leave at the wayside. But it's this last statement. I'll help you out of the quicksand, but damn if I'm going to let you pull me in the quicksand. If you're not going to let me help you out that quicksand and you trying to pull me in the quicksand, hell with you. I'm moving on for the people that are moving in the direction that we're moving into for our salvation.
Right. Guys, we have to understand that the elders have some wisdom, and the young people, they have some energy. Without the wisdom of the elders and the energy of our young people, I'm going to quote my dear friend, Brother Takuna. He says, show me an organization where there is no young people, I'll show you a dying organization. And show me an organization where there are no elders, I'll show you a train wreck waiting to happen. And all of that comes with respect and trust, and things of that nature.
Sister Margie, Brother Fatiyn, my good friend Todd, Brother Fatiyn, you brought up something, and I want people really to listen to what I'm about to say and put this into perspective of what it is from my point of view. We saw with George Floyd a country galvanize and come together. And even within all of that, we still don't have the George Floyd Community Policing Act passed.
Right.
So listen to what I'm saying. You really need to wake up. And for those of you who say, oh, the hell with government, I'm not concerned about that. Let me tell you something. And I'm going to say this again, and I'm going to probably get some ugly messages after this show. There are those on the other side of the aisle that are going into our communities, getting the best of us and inundating us with their conservative doctrine and coming back saying, oh, we're not prejudiced. Look at my friend who happens to not be white, which the person they pointing at actually hate black people more than white folk, and they black. It saddens me when I see certain black folks always posting on social media about how proud they are that they've accomplished this, they did this, they did that. You ain't did a damn thing for the black community. You a black person who have been inundated with certain ideologies, really to be sent back to the black community to be only the person destroying us from the inside out. Period. And I have no respect for you. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care what position you get. And I don't give a damn what you do. Because at the end of the day, you are the double agent that is killing us. You the same one that took out the Black Panther Party. You the same one that took out King. You the same one that took out X. Now somebody gonna say right now, well, King wasn't killed by a black man. Okay. All I gotta say is we got too many folk who are quick to get inundated because we allow these folks to come in our community and get the best of us. And then all of a sudden that's their card. Oh no, I'm good. I'm good. So-and-so's my friend. So-and-so lives in my community. That's all I got to say.
And we're so forgiving. We have black bootlickers who have Prince, our mayor around that we know is destroying our city, at least the north side of our city, and we're forgiving. We're forgiving and forgetting. Let me say
Wait,
that.
wait a minute, Marja. I thought that it came out that Guillory was actually black. That is not resonating in the community. Is he has not changed his ways? Is he like one of them Dave Chappelle characters? He done found out he black, but he done doubled down on the hate for us.
Oh,
You
you
know,
say you Clayton Bixby?
he Clayton Bigsby. Is that what
Yes.
Guillory is? He hate. No, he found out he black and he hate us.
Well,
Look, you know what? Let me say this.
Gilligan graduated from Southern Law School.
Well,
You
that
know,
doesn't have
he's.
anything to do with him being black, baby.
I
I heard
know.
the boy is black, and so it's like for me, that's a whole mindset shift because you thought you was something, but then the reality is, nah, you actually are the minority, and you out here perpetrating the fraud.
Well,
Right.
let, let me let me
I've
well
not
let me
heard that.
say
That
let
has
me
not
say
been
this.
verified, so I don't
Yeah, yeah.
rumors.
Let me say this. That rumor was out there, but let's be real, Sister Margie, and I'm gonna bring Brother Fatiyn back in. Here in South Louisiana, there are a lot of people that the word I believe in. I'm not from here originally. I've only been here for 10 years, and I've only been in Louisiana since 95, but they use the word passe blanc. Now,
Yes.
I know folk who are quote unquote black that when I found, I was sitting at a table with a person, a female, and a person said, "Well, Joe, I don't want to offend you, you being the only black person here." Now I know her daddy black because she and I done had the conversation, though her complexion makes her look more like them than us. So instead of her saying, "No, Joe's not the only black sitting at the table,"
I'm
she
black
sat there
too.
with her little quiet self and didn't say a word.
Yes.
And actually, later in the conversation, she said, "I hope you're not offended, Joe." I got ready to say, "We should be offended." But the problem is some of us don't want to admit our blackness. And that saddens me. That, oh, we only want to admit it when it benefits us, when it benefits us for certain tax breaks or certain monetary gains or certain admissions. I would love to go and look at the rolls, and I like to ask the question, Jeff Landry, did you pay for law school or did you go for free? Josh Guillory, did you pay for law school or did you go for free? I don't have a doctorate degree, but every degree I have on the wall, I paid for it.
I know that.
Period.
I know
You
that's right.
know, Joe, this is the Todd Sterling method for dealing with these types of issues. I really, really believe that it's incumbent on Fatiyn, on Marja, on Joe Dupree, on Todd Sterling to support our community in the ways that we can. I really believe that beyond us, we have to talk to our families and say, you need to go to this store, or you need to check these people out, or you need to go to that gas station, or you need to go and support these people. Because until we get back to that ethos, you know, the reality is the Jews, they spend their dollar 6, 7 times in their community before it goes back out to the greater community.
Wow.
So many other people, Koreans, Middle Easterners, they consciously spend their money with each other. We are we the worst in America. Who don't spend our money with each other, and we have to be the ones to change that narrative. We have to be the ones who say, bruh, what you doing? And you know what? When somebody say something stupid, you got to be the one to bring them back to reality and say, you know what, you stupid because you
I
Right.
the
agree.
who hurting
I
our community. You the one that's not getting your kid a job because you putting all your money over here. And so at the end of the day, it becomes incumbent on folks like us, thought leaders, people who have the means and ability to change this whole narrative. My grandfather told me when I was about 10, 12 years old, the worst thing that happened to African Americans was integration in education. We had the best teachers who really, really elevated our kids and really, really taught our kids what they needed to know to succeed. But then when integration came, they sent the best of our black teachers to the white schools and sent the worst of their teachers to our schools.
Mm.
And it was just like, damn, this thing. while we sleeping, they plotting against us. And so at the end of the day, you know, it's not all of them. And so let's get that clear. You know, if you're not a Trump loving, evil doing white folk, we're not talking about you.
Correct.
Yes,
We're
yes.
talking
Make
about
that
your
distinction.
cousin. We're talking about your
Yes,
cousin. And
yes,
you know what? I had so many white folks call me and say, "Man, I'm sorry. You know, when George Floyd happened, or when some of this other ignorance has happened in the last 2, 3 years." I said, "Man, you don't need to be calling and apologizing to me. We good. You ain't never done me nothing wrong. But I
right.
really need you to talk to your cousin.
Right.
You really need to
We
talk to
need to
your
talk to the one that don't like us. Right. We
boom.
need them to start talking to them about what's going on with what's wrong with them when they do wrong things to us. You know, we just dealt with here and we talked about on the show, Brother Fatiyn. I'm getting ready to turn the mic over to you. Judge Odenay, former Judge Odenay. You know,
Yes,
like it, leave it, or love it. You know, the truth about the matter is, and I'm willing to bet my right arm on it. She ain't the first nor the last. She was the one that got caught.
yes.
Period.
She got
Any
busted.
anytime that we as a people come together, the adversary comes out and does everything to destroy us. We can go back even before Jim Crow. We can go back to Black Wall Street, where black people were prospering,
Yes,
and they burnt it down. They burnt it down. You come forward to before Dr. King, but even before Emmett Till, even before the Montgomery bus boycott, black folk had businesses. We
yes,
had a Negro baseball league.
yes,
We had taxi cabs, we had shoe shines, we had stores and grocery stores. And then when integration, where we thought by integrating we would get better services, and a lot of our businesses fell by the wayside, we never gained those businesses back. But let's even go a little farther. Let's go to the 70s in certain black communities. It may have been ghettos, but in the ghetto, guess what? The barbershop was black owned.
Yeah.
yes,
The church, of
yes,
course, the church was black. Even the liquor store was black owned. And
yes,
a candy store across the street, black owned. You may have one bodega back then that was Hispanic. You understand what I'm saying? Maybe. But other than that, it was black owned, and we were supporting one another. Just like brother just said, is that the money in the Jewish community go around 6 or 7 times before it goes out into the greater community. I want to talk brother Todd. I want to address him by his proper name, brother Todd Sterling, and and we still see the destruction in our community. So we still have black communities, but we don't own the bodega. We don't control what's in the grocery store. Do you ever walk into a black bodega or a grocery store in a black community and walk in a grocery store? When I say a grocery store, a small grocery store in a white neighborhood. In the black neighborhood, you got the candy up front, you got the potato chips, you got this. You go in the white neighborhood, you got more healthier food, the cookies, the more things that are more nutritious for you. You understand? In the black community back in the 70s, how many liquor stores they had in a 10 block radius?
Mm.
You understand? So what I'm saying is that and then look at the food that we eat, and look at the fast food. The fast food used to be a treat. McDonald's used to be a treat. You couldn't even find a McDonald's in your community. You understand? You couldn't find that. So you look at the destruction of what is being done to us mentally, physically, spiritually, and in
Spiritually.
a yes. So at the end of the day, it's just so much throwing at us now. Now we're dealing with COVID, we're dealing with crime. So we don't get our bearings. So a lot of times we say with our children, the parents need to come to the PTA meetings. Well, our parents don't support the PTA meetings. You know why? Because a lot of families, not all families, are ran by a lot of single parents now. Welfare did a number on us. Farewell to the black man, so our sisters could get welfare. You understand? Child support. You understand? And then when you bringing up these children, not to say that a single parent can't do a good job bringing up a child, but when you see this over and over and over and over and over, you got to realize communities didn't go this way in the ghetto. They went this way in projects. So
yes,
you had so many families living in the projects that didn't have a whole family.
yes.
Fatiyn, I want to
I
say
think
this.
we got segregation, desegregation wrong. It was for fair and equal, not to desert our own communities. When I'm 60 years old, when I was coming up, there was a grocery store everywhere, and I could have
Mhm.
gone into any of those grocery stores and said, "My dad is so and so," and they would just get this little ticket out, and they would write what my dad would owe them, and my dad would pay them every month or every week, however he would do that. But I used to say when I was on Janelle's show that I really think Black folks think that, and I don't mean all Black folks, because a lot of Black people do not. They are conscious and they are shopping Black and they are trying to build Black businesses and Black communities and whatnot. But I really think that people must have thought that, oh, wow, now we have the right to buy white, because our communities prospered because we were not allowed to go across the track.
Yeah.
And when we start going across the track, our money followed us across the track. Okay. And that was a great disservice to the African American people in general. We wanted we didn't want the old used books. We wanted brand new books like the white schools had. If they had computers, we wanted computers too. But that
Mhm.
didn't that in no way meant for us to desert our own and not continue to build our own. The black dollar stays in the African American community approximately 6 hours. You get your check from your employer and you take it to a place to cash it, and that's about a 6 hour window, and then you go back and you spend it outside of your community, where the Jewish, Asian, Hispanic money, the Hispanic man will get his paycheck. He will buy from a Hispanic store. That Hispanic grocery store will buy from a Hispanic furniture owner. That Hispanic furniture owner will spend his money at a Hispanic barber, and so on and so forth. We don't do that. We get our checks and we take it across the track. That's my comment. Thank you.
So, Marja, Fatiyn, Joe, this is another thing that I think we got to discuss that is really, really, really a linchpin of where we are today. You know, I grew up in Mount Zion First Baptist Church, the Motherhood African American Baptist Church in Baton Rouge. It was led by Reverend T.J. Jemison, who gave Martin the blueprint for the Montgomery bus boycott, because we had a bus boycott here in Baton Rouge. But you know what? So many of our brothers and sisters now go to these non denominational churches
Yes.
led by white people, white groups. And, I asked myself, you know, what is the appeal? And the appeal is the format. It's a whole lot of praise and worship, little bit of gospel, and it's real casual, and it's not heavy on you got to get involved, you got to participate, you got to do this, you got to do that. And all of my friends in my social circle who like and go to those churches, I ask them, how do you go to that church when you know that 70 plus percent of their memberships vote Republican? They vote for Trump. They vote Monday through Saturday for the demise of your family. But yet
Yes.
you go and you sit next to them on Sunday and they calling you brother and you singing kumbaya with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, that goes to show you how far and lost we are. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you don't even think about the fact that you get in your car and you're pulling out from church, and the dude you were sitting next to got a Trump sticker on his
Yes.
bumper, and it's like you don't even have the gall or the integrity or the guts to ask him, man, how can you support this dude Trump when he's a criminal, when he's
Yes.
a thug, when he's an American thug who
Yes.
disrespects women, who steals and breaks all the laws and commits bankruptcy and had 4 kids wrongfully jailed. How can you support a guy like this? And you know what? If you had that gall to do that, you might find that you could help that person not be so stupid, because they stupid.
Right. Our
Because
job is
But
to
I,
supporting
yeah,
a thug, you're supporting a role, you're supporting the worst of who we are as Americans, but yet you sit in church with them and you go and you sing kumbaya, but yet
praise the Lord.
when they go in the voting booth, they voting for these fools who have nothing but demise for your family
Right.
in your mind. And for me, again,
I just want to
I qualify that by saying it's not all of y'all,
yes.
but
I
it's
just
some
want to
of
say real
y'all.
quickly, Brother Todd, and you're so accurate with what you're saying. But part of our jobs as leaders and people in our community that's trying to build it is to call down our friends who we say friends, who we hallelujah with on Sunday. It's our job to educate them because some of them, not all, some of them are totally oblivious. I heard a pastor call the devil a nappy head one Sunday, and I
Mhm.
thought to myself, now who got nappy head in this building?
Yeah.
Jesus had
Well,
that.
let me just say this real
We
quick.
got that version on their wall.
Yeah, let me just say this, and excuse me for what I'm getting ready to say, Sister Marja. Please excuse me, but I'm just gonna say it. Brother Todd said that we don't have the guts or the gall to call them out on Trump. But you can look at another person that looked like you and call them a nigger or a bitch.
Come on.
Boom.
Okay? So at the end of the day, it just shows you where our mindset is. And Sister Marja, I don't mean any harm with you saying, but some folks are so set in their ways that I ain't even wasting time trying to teach them. You
Right.
know why? Because they so set in it that we got to tear them down to build them up. I'd rather teach a young person or teach a person that's willing to learn. Because Dr. King talked about that some folks are so set in their ways that you have to let them grow old and die.
Yes.
I hate to say it. That's Dr. King. That's not Fatiyn. That's Dr. King. So I ain't got time. If you 40 and 50 and 60 years old and sitting up there and ignorant and don't want to change, oh, Donald Trump ain't that bad. I ain't got time for you. I ain't got time to argue with you. Well, I'm wasting my energy. Just let you go and let you do what you're gonna do. I ain't trying to change Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas know his ass. He played the race card. He was black when he was
Yes.
trying to become
Yes.
Supreme Court justice. He got in there and he lost his damn mind.
But
Yes.
Fatiyn, what about all of these folks who support the filibuster and support Fateen's demise, who quote King on King Day?
Come
It's
on.
so the America is just really, really gone off the rails. It's
Damn
like
right.
you literally now exalt Martin Luther King, who you hated when he was alive. You literally exalt Muhammad Ali, who said, I'm not going to no Kong to fight them people because they ain't never called me a nigga or
That's right.
trying to kill me, you know. uh, and you literally call them two of the greatest Americans ever, while you really, really consciously think about the demise of minority brown and black people. You know, for me, that's the one that has to really, really be called out, because you don't have the right to use that man's quotes because you really don't know or respect what he was all about, and you
Mhm.
integrating their family. It's not just a person in history. He still got children alive. He still
Yes.
got grandchildren alive. He still got people who love him living on this earth, and here you are denigrating his memory with the use of his words that were pure. And you talking about, a filibuster, or Mitch McConnell, African Americans vote just as much as Americans. It's like, oh, that's how you really felt about us all along.
Right,
Fool.
right. We ain't a part of this. We only a
Fool.
part of this when you need us to be a part of it. Listen, family, I wish we're gonna have to come back with another show. Sister Marja, thank you for being on. Brother Todd, thank you for being on. Family, this is a wake up call. It's a wake up call. We're not here to tell you how to think or what to think, but you need to start doing some research and begin to think. Because Brother Todd, Sister Margie, Brother Fatima all said it. This is an attack on you, your values, your family, your children, your grandchildren. And listen, if you don't wake up and start putting things in place to change the narrative, we've got to stop being the victim and be victorious by uniting for real. We got to stop one day, we got to stop cooning. I'm gonna call it what it is. We're gonna have to stop some of this cooning we doing, because here's the thing.
Bootlicking.
It's whatever you want to call it.
Handkerchief head bootlickers.
Well, the truth about it
I
is,
can get down too, Sister Mark.
you
I
know,
call it Steven from Django.
well, family, we get ready.
Master, who that on that nag? Who
Hey,
that
yeah,
on
who that? you
Hey,
know,
and just like on Django, the Stevens have to stay behind.
right,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
So, family, thank y'all for all of you who have tuned in. I know a lot of folks have shared this. I see a lot of views, but we just don't need the views. It's time for some action. It's time for us to agree to disagree, but all be going in the same direction for the preservation of the greater good for all of us.
Right. Exactly.
So family, I got nothing but love for you, brother Ty. Thank you. Sister Margie, thank you.
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
take both of y'all out for a minute. Uh Let me see here. And brother Fatim, y'all hold on. We ain't brother Fatim, I'm
Yep.
gonna give you some closing words, man. Cause this show tonight was for real, for real.
This was
So
fire,
uh,
and I just say at the end of the day, folks, and I just listen and I pick up what Brother Todd said, and I want to thank both Sister Margie and Brother Todd for coming on this evening and doing such a great, tremendous job. But Brother Todd said something, and he's mentioned Kemet, and I'm gonna just say to you, my listeners and viewers out there, we may come from those great dynasties. We may come from kings and queens, and that's great. We may have created math, science, medicine. We've done it all. But the problem is we've come from kings and queens. The question is, are we still walking in the legacy of kings and queens? Because if we're not, we can't call ourselves kings and queens. And it's degrading to say you came from kings and queens if you are acting like roaches in the street.
that part right there. So, family, nothing but love for you. Be in tune next week for more community conversation. Tomorrow is, of course, Wellness Wednesday. I know Fatim is getting ready to go do his next show, which
Yes,
is
sir.
Tangy Tea.
Tangy Tea
Tangy Tea.
alive.
So definitely check that out. Don't forget about the open lines with WBLS with my brother Fatim and all that he does with Reverend Al Sharpton and everything we do out there. We're trying to get you the information where you can think. We're not telling you how to think. We're giving you the information where you can research it, do it yourself, and think. So we're up out of here. Thank you to our guest, Sister Margie Broussard from the NAACP, my brother Ty Sterling from Alpha Media. And listen, each one teach one. It's time for us to elevate and do great things. We out of here. Peace.
Peace.